not one of the favorite thing in Travis's life, other than me, is trains. Actually, I'm second place to trains, maybe third place. And so as such, if there is a train exhibit of any kind or sort throughout North Texas, which there are a lot of, in North Dallas, we've been to it. And one of the best ones, probably the best community museum I've ever been to, is Frisco. Not only is it ice cold, like 65 degrees in the summertime, and it's free, and it's got a great chicken restaurant and bar next to it. But going through the Frisco Museum really gives a good history of great history, actually, of the Chisholm Trail and the effect of trains throughout Texas. And as you kind of expand upon it, it really kind of highlights what technology can do to population growth and to changes in demographics. I know we see a lot of quick changes based on technology today, and so I kind of wanted to walk through, because it's just a really interesting. I'm going to give you 2 minutes on the Frisco Museum, which really focuses on the Chisholm Trail. The Chisholm Trail really started post Civil War. It was really the key economic driver running the cattle to bring Texas back into economic prosperity after the Civil War. And what the Chisholm Trail was is the rounding up of longhorn cattle. I should have added some more of those pictures in there, but you can see a longhorn here on the right. And they're rounding up wild longhorn cattle, driving them to San Antonio. So San Antonio made its start because of the Chisholm Trail. Well, one of the reasons, but started to become really populous because that was really the start of the Chisholm Trail. Chisholm Trail starts in San Antonio and really starts in about 1865. The Chisholm Trail was really popular for about 6 years, from the early 1870s, and so they would drive cattle through Fort Worth up the Chisholm Trail to like Abilene, which is the very top of this trail, of this map. It would take 3 months. It typically took 10 cowboys. It would take, and a trail boss and a cook. And then from Abilene, they would ship by train cattle over to New York and Chicago. And this is actually going to be more than 2 minutes. But Fort Worth actually started as an army outpost. It was the westernmost army outpost, kind of during the Indian Wars of the South. And then it came to its prominence when the trains came by. So the trains started in Fort Worth in like 1875, and then the trains start to ship cattle up to Abilene. And like when the Chisholm Trail was in its heyday, the price of a head of cattle in New York would be $40. The price in Texas would be $2, and it would cost about 50 to 75 cents a head of cattle to drive them up to Abilene. So I mean, there's just a huge ton of profit at the time, and each herd of cattle was about 2,500 cattle, but as the steam engine comes in, that's when Fort Worth really hits its prosperity. And Ryan, you can go ahead and flip the page. And what you ended up having was all these outposts that were between Fort Worth and Abilene that became cities of 400 to 700 people, because you had herds of cattle coming through there, creating its own economy. Then you have Fort Worth, and Fort Worth ends up being 200 acres. It ends up shipping like 1 million cattle a year or 600,000 cattle a year out of Fort Worth. And as the Union Pacific then accesses Fort Worth, it just explodes. And once the steam train comes, it bypasses all of these little towns into different towns. So like a good example would be Frisco. Frisco ends up being this huge hub because steam engines needed to stop every 20 to 50 miles to refill with water. Frisco became prominent because of because of the steam engine. Yet Lebanon, which is two miles as a crow flies, but sits up on a hill, it was a town of 700 people. And because of technology, the water access and technology, they went around the hill that Lebanon's on. Lebanon ends up going defunct and ends up being a ghost town, and everybody moves to Frisco. And then with the age of steam comes diesel engines. Diesel engines, not only trucking and transportation, start to ruin a bunch of the other towns that are around Frisco, 20 miles north of Frisco, and so on, because it was so much more accessible for trucking. So quick history of cattle in the North Texas region.